Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Nani Network. We are your hosts Eli and Shay, and today we are bringing you to I'm not gonna call them unknown, but they're not popular anime.
We don't know that. No, Plunderer was on the popular list.
Yeah, but I don't believe them. I ain't hear nobody talking about Plunderer. They put that there.
Plunderer was on top
No,
watch.
they put that there to pique your interest and get more traffic towards it.
Pause it. You need to do the greeting right.
No, I know we're going with it. How dare you?
Greet them. You cannot immediately shade Plunderer.
No, don't even stick around for the end of the video.
To I don't want to say unknown, but nobody took it. They worked their way onto the top list.
Nani? Who's top list?
On Funimation and
Well, for
Crunchyroll.
Funimation's whole catalog is their top list because I was scrolling through it and it did not have an end page. It's their whole catalog.
Well, it was high up there. It was top 10.
I don't think they put it in order. I refuse to believe they put it in order. I refuse to believe that many people like Plunderer. Look, let's not ruin anything. Spoiler alert, we're still recording, Elijah, so can you be a professional? Okay, so first things first, we're gonna kick things off with High School Prodigies. The full name of this anime is actually...
Pause.
A few moments later.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Nani Network. We are your hosts, Eli and Shay, and today we are bringing you two less than savory anime. They're an acquired taste, and we're gonna get into it. You want to kick us off, Eli?
Alright, so the two anime are High School Prodigies and Plunderer, by the way. But we're gonna start off with High School Prodigies. So High School Prodigies is based off of a light novel, so it's definitely a little different from my taste. Shay kind of likes some of these cutesy ones, maybe not this one, but she does like some of these more cutesy anime.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. It breaks up the constant genocide and depression.
Listen, I need war. If there's not war, I don't need it too much.
Well,
but
you need kid
some
soldiers.
of them do have it. But
kid soldiers tickle your fancy.
Absolutely. So it's a little bit different from my taste, but basically these 7 prodigies crash land in this fantastical world, and we basically go through and watch them bring their first world problems to a third world. And that's literally High School Prodigies in a nutshell. Disclaimer, the show's name is actually High School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World. But we're just going to refer to it as High School Prodigies because that's a mouthful and ain't nobody saying all that constantly.
Right. So we're going to kick you off with the 5 things that you need to know about High School Prodigies. Thing number 1 being there is a plane crash, as Eli just explained, that takes these kids to an alternate dimension. And wasn't really explained why they were all on a plane together. I assume that they were probably
we think it does, somewhere. But we're gonna dig and we're gonna figure it out because we swear there was a reason.
Yeah,
we just couldn't find anything.
I think they just kind of jumped right into the storyline here. So they crash land in this alternate dimension that goes by the name of Freyregard. Very Shrekish. Freyregard. So this society it mirrors like a feudal society, like a European Middle Age, where you see like peasant clothes and villages and merchant shops and things of that nature.
It's like the era I would never want to live in. It's like the filthiest era.
Right, where they don't have like public sewage.
Yeah.
And people shit themselves, I assume. This is probably when the bubonic plague happened, but it's like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So that's the first, like that, just scenery wise, that's the setting. So imagine yourself being transported from, present day cell phones and air conditioning, and you're in some filthy backwater town.
Right. Second thing you need to know is each of these prodigies' talent, because it's in the show. They're prodigies. What the fuck are they prodigies of? So we have a politician, Tsukasa. We have a genius inventor, Ringo. We have a ninja journalist, Shinobu. A medical doctor, Kine. The samurai swordsman, Aoi.
Swordswoman.
Swordswoman. But I think that's just one of those words that,
is it?
Like when you're a policeman, it would be a woman or a man. No? I don't know. But
I thought it was a policewoman.
We have the magician Prince, and we have the businessman Masato.
You're not gonna say, oh, his name is Prince Akatsuki? That's his full name?
Yeah.
Oh, his first name is Prince?
Yeah.
I said what I said.
I'm sorry. damn. I'll do better. But yeah, so those are each of their prodigies, and they're all prodigy basically means what? They excel, they're better than your average fucking Joe at each of these things that they specialize in. And you put these guys in a different world, and of course, they're gonna have trouble. They're not just your run-of-the-mill kids that you throw in there and they're just gonna conform to whatever's going on. They have knowledge, they have power, they know how to acquire power.
Exactly. So since they have these skill sets, they use each of their disciplines to essentially repay the village that saved them once their plane crashed. Aww. So they do big and little things, but they start off by doing things for the village, such as building them like a public bathhouse, right? Again, as we mentioned, this does take place in like a feudal era type civilization, so hygiene is lost on these people. Public bathhouse. What else did they do for them? They're essentially trying to introduce democracy to this world, right? Because again, being that it mimics like the Middle Ages. I said feudal era earlier, but it's the Middle Ages. Seeing as how it mimics the Middle Ages, they have a tyrant, a king who imposes steep taxes. Does all that dickhead king
all
shit,
that old school shit. And so basically, they're just trying to like introduce democracy and break down that as a repayment for them, because they really could have just left them for dead
and help free these. And help free these people from under the thumb of oppression.
Mm-hmm. Next, we got economic advancements. So they really popped in there, and well, it's opinion based, and we might talk about it a little later. But they popped in there, and they just introduced whatever they wanted to into society. So it started off with simple things like mayonnaise was the first thing they introduced, and everyone loved it. But then it grew to they have a nuclear plant there now. Okay, like you introduce mayonnaise, and now there's a nuke in there, which I question as like, why would you bring that into their world?
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
But they have other things. They have electricity. They made cell phones, and they got service.
No, they have their cell phones.
Yeah, but they had to activate. She had to build the towers for them to get service.
Okay.
It's an alternate dimension. I don't think AT&T goes that far. But it's actually something that's really cool that you get to see them building civilization from the ground up. Well, not from the ground up. They had huts at least. But, they're introducing these things. They took over the marketplace and they showed them how to build a marketplace that's based off of the farmers and the people who are growing and providing the product, how they now control the market and the prices, and they get the most benefit out of it while people get the most out of the product. So it's really cool to see how they developed that and took over, and how the old way of doing things really doesn't make sense. And in any way you put it, any dimension, it kind of just works when you introduce the right things into society.
Whether or not it be to the detriment of those people, because as I'm sure we'll see later on, and we'll discuss it a little bit more, is just where do you draw the line now, right? Because none of them really have a cap on their abilities. I don't think they've peaked yet. So it's okay, how far will you go in the name of doing the right thing?
Especially in some of the tactics that they use to gain favor and stuff. It's pretty yikes.
Yeah. Last thing you need to know about High School Prodigies is one of the story's main characters that's not a prodigy is going to be an elf named Liru. So in the beginning of this show, she's kidnapped by the king, and he's about to do something frisky with her when she is saved by Tsukasa, one of the prodigies. So during her kidnap / retrieval, she's possessed or taken over by some unnamed spirit, and this spirit delivers a prophecy to her that states, it's based off of a legend that happened that prophesizes that there was an evil dragon that was slain by 7 heroes who came from another world. So they believe that this legend is somehow tied in with why these kids came, right? Something wicked this way comes, kind of.
But they didn't leave. We don't get to see too much of it though. They kind of popped it, really went into detail about it. We heard a brief little story early on, and then later on they go into a little bit more detail, but Then they end it, so we don't even get to see. But yeah, so today we're going to be introducing a new segment that is called What the Fuck Anime. We watch all these animes, and although we love them, there is some shit that just can't be explained. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And they don't explain it. And if they did try to explain it, it would be what the fuck. So first, let's talk about the ages in this thing, because they're high school prodigies, but the age scope is from 14 to 18. And it's just unrealistic to me. Like, what the fuck? You have this 14-year-old, 13-year-old building a nuclear plant and introducing all these things into this world, which just doesn't make sense to me. I don't care how much you study, how much you know, but to be able to have the knowledge and the ability to implement it by that age, just...
That shit don't even make no fucking sense.
And the resources. I don't think they fully went into like, okay, where did she get, like, in the area that they were in, like, yes, they can do trade and all that shit, but she shouldn't have got the kind of materials that she got in time to build the kind of shit that she built.
Yeah, they were jumping around with the time. They were just like, boom, she has a laboratory in a cave. How did you excavate it?
Right, where did you get the metal from? All of that metal to build a fucking bomb. Bombs, you know, as plural.
Tunneling wiring through to get the cave. It's just crazy.
Our next what the fuck anime moment is, how did these kids survive that plane crash? Like, make it make sense to me.
They didn't show shit.
They weren't mangled, maimed, missing a limb. Like, they had some piss poor bandage wrapped around their heads.
But you know what's fucked up? Where's the pilot?
Oh.
So each and every one of these motherfuckers survived, but the pilot, no. It's like, what are we gonna do with him for the plot?
Right,
like get rid of him. Don't talk about it.
Just making you being smart should not have made them, you know, not susceptible to dying in this plane crash.
right.
I think one of the things was that Ringo, the one that Elijah was just poking fun at, she is the child prodigy that built the plane, so it may have been like a self-flying plane. That's my theory on it. But then look, your shit don't work
at all.
So our last what the fuck anime moment is kind of debating the merits of the economic advancements, quote unquote, that these kids brought to this world. In the end, did they really end up leaving a positive impact or a negative one?
Word, because, like, you know, yes, you're doing everything in the name of good, but is necessarily coming in and shaking up their way of life. Like, you know, there are people who are comfortable, there are people who are not, and yes, you stumbled upon the commoners, so of course you empathize with them, but then also you introduced more than just how to market your goods better. You introduced weaponry, war, a religion. Yeah, you know, you guys took over and you're just creating these ideals that, without the regard for the people, sometimes it seems to me.
Or respect, really, because then it's just like they just shat on whatever religion they already had in place and replaced it with
gargoyles, psychics.
It's like, do you guys plan to stay?
Yeah.
Or are you still gonna go to Japan after you're done with this? And like, it's like, okay, cool.
I don't like that.
You should be doing.
I feel like that was very dishonest of them, and I know that there was a reason behind it, and I'm not saying that they were wrong, but sometimes it's just kind of like, okay, let things be, or is that?
It's like, go home. Go home.
I'm not a fan of people
coming to somewhere and just.
I don't think they're there because they want to be Elijah.
I don't think they're focusing solely on going home either. And as we see in another, like, not even a what the fuck anime moment, a what the fuck moment was when, like, Shorty was, like, changing people's minds, like, with her medical practice. It's like, she's crazy.
Was she crazy?
She was psycho.
He disrespected her.
Oh, I'm so sorry. When you disrespect someone, you should clip.
Do I lobotomize them? I've thought about it.
Could you? And if you do know how, should you?
No.
And that's how we're gonna leave you guys with that one. Should you?
You know where I stand on the lobotomy.
But that was just crazy, man.
They were pricks.
But yeah, that's what the fuck anime for you right now. But of course, you know, we gotta lock that bitch in. We gotta make a couple predictions for what we think is gonna happen in the future. So what up?
Honestly, I don't think that there's gonna be a season 2, but if there is a season 2, I feel like anime like these, they usually lay forgotten. But if there is a season 2 by some miracle, I would usually anticipate them killing off a character. But again, It is a light.
You love a good death.
It's a light novel, so I really don't see them murking one of these kids, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna go with the prophecy and say that everything comes to pass and they kill this demon monster or whatever. Is that a cop out using the prophecy?
Yeah, there's gonna be a dragon that comes too, huh?
Is it what? Oh, I'm sorry. The wolf people running around is believable, but the dragon isn't.
Yes. Nah, you're right. You're very right. They did see one too, right? Nah. But either way,
I think they did.
I'm gonna go ahead and lock in that more than one of these prodigies are batshit crazy, because we saw little hints of it, because right now they're projecting themselves as, oh my gosh, we're so good, we're so this. I don't believe anyone is as good. When these overly goody characters and they don't have enough of the bad characters in the spotlight, to me that means that one of our main good characters is a baddie. Yeah. And like, we're gonna see it. And so we saw it in the doctor chick when she was lobotomizing freaking villagers, and
who are rude
for being rude to her. She was lobotomizing them for being rude to her. So I think there's more than one who's about to do some shicey shit. And I'm gonna put it on the samurai chick.
Ooh, you think she got a little nuts on her?
When she held onto that missile and she was running and she was keeping pace, something's wrong with her. She might be taking some illegal steroids.
Because she's strong?
I don't know.
I mean,
that
steroids
wasn't strong.
Mean
that was inhumane. She's taken to this new fantasy world a little too much. And I have my eye on her, and I'm gonna lock that in.
I was like, steroids aren't illegal, are they?
For children?
Oh, I'm sorry. She can kill forest spirits, but she can't take steroids.
No, I'm curious. For children. You were curious if steroids were illegal for children?
They definitely give kids steroids when they need to,
when they're having breathing issues, when they're like...
Okay, tomato is the same thing.
She wants to be strong. Give her some steroids. Yo, I hope you're listening, whoever.
Pump it into her veins.
But yeah, that's definitely what I'm going to lock in for this month. And lastly, let's go ahead and give that Nani rating. For me, High School Prodigies, it's hard to say. It was a short anime, and I am going to have to give it like maybe a 5.782. So you can round up to maybe a 5.8. And you know what? It's not because it was trash. It's only because it's not my type of anime. I really do like to go for certain things in animes. And they had a decent cast of kids. And I thought I would be able to supplement like them having maybe powers or some power source for them having these talents. And like, it never really captured me. They have brief glimpses of magic, and they do have potential to boost their score easily to a 7 once they start to expand on magic, I think. Once they start to expand on that, and we see like how maybe this fantasy world impacts them being there too long, maybe some factor like that, I don't know. But right now, because of that, and just the storyline, I have them sitting where they lay.
My Nani rating for this, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4.5. Because I don't mind I don't mind lighter anime, but if you're gonna be lighter, which means that you're like, the action isn't gonna be fully there, then at least you can supplement it with like humor. I like to laugh if I'm not gonna be stimulated with the action. Like, crack a joke, like
right.
Make a bitch laugh. But there wasn't that, right? So it was just like this like
it's a drama movie.
Right. Mad, crude, and forced. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. A lot of it, certain parts just seem really forced. So it was an interesting watch. I finished the whole season. If they have season 2, I would probably watch it just for the sake of seeing how it ends. But I know that I'm not pushing this to like a season 3 or like
they might seal it up.
Not no season 7.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not in this for the long run. So I'm gonna stick with my 4.5. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay at a 4.5.
Yeah. Ooh, yikes.
Alright guys, so the next show that we're going to be talking about today is Plunderer. So Plunderer takes place in the year 305 of the Alcyon calendar. Our protagonist Hina is given a mission by her dying mother to search for the legendary aces. In her search, Hina comes across swordsman Lick Bak, and this sparks the quest for the truth about the legends of the Waste War.
So, per usual, we're going to jump into the 5 things you must know about Plunderer. The first thing you must know is the ballot system / ballot holders. So, everyone is born with a ballot. It's just, your number is displayed somewhere on your body, anywhere, and it could be anything. So, it could be the number of animes you've watched. It could be the number of times you scratched your head, and a lot of them are pretty countable in the sense that you can go up or down, but then some of them are not. Now, the bad thing is if your count goes all the way down to 0, you are sucked in to an abyss. So obviously these counts and these ballots are super important to that effect because don't nobody know what the fuck happens when you're sucked into the abyss, but it's assumed that you die. Your time is up.
Yeah, it had a very hellscape-like feel to it. Cause you see, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Drag Me to Hell, but it was definitely like that kind of vibe where there are a bunch of hands that come out of the ground and pull you into like this black hole, right? Yeah. And no one knows what's on the other side. Like, you know, kind of like death. Like, you don't know what you experience after your ballot goes down to 0.
So, other ways to gain numbers is you can have a star stake, which is where you bet your number against somebody else's number in a fight, in a competition, in some sort of 1 against 1 where you wager how many of your numbers you want to give away, and if you win or lose, the exchange is forcibly taken from you. Absolutely. So that's a way to jump the ranks because the ballot, the higher the number, the higher your status in the society, because you know animes love some status, baby.
They sure do. Second thing that you need to know about Plunderer is to forget the ballot system.
Forget it.
just do away with it. It doesn't even matter anymore, right? You got the premise. Now throw it away. So that's how it felt watching Plunderer, because they dragged the fuck out of you knowing the importance of the ballots, what they mean, what they represent, how you win them, how you lose them. They dragged the shit out of that for like 2 episodes, you know, just explaining to us what I assumed the fucking show was gonna be about.
With information we needed.
And then you get to episode 3 and it's just like the ballots. Well, first they introduced like side ballots, right? So they were like, oh yeah, you're supposed to get dragged to hell or whatever once your number hits 0, but here we got this man running around with negative 999. So then it was introduced that people can have these items
that are like access ballots.
Yes, so it's like an
it could
extension,
be a sword,
yes.
Or just extension, so like it counteracts. It basically adds the negative and the positive, and as long as you're still in the positive with this access ballot, then apparently you don't get sucked into the abyss.
Right. So obviously that's kind of like cheating. So they are illegal, these external ballots in this world. But then even after that, now we go a good, like, I want to say 5 to 10 episodes where the ballot is no longer even mentioned.
Word.
So then it's just like, you know, for something that's so crucial and is like the essential like life or death aspect of this anime, for you to just like stop fucking mentioning it, like
at all,
it holds no importance when, you know, originally it was thought this was the entire premise of the show. So there's a ballot system. Forget the ballot system.
The third must know for this is the legendary aces. So Hina's mom is basically being sucked into the abyss when we meet her at the start of the show, and her mother tell her to seek out the legendary bases. She actually has one of the original aces. I said bases. But she actually has one of the original ballots, which is this little circular Dragon Ball looking thing with 1,000 written across it. And she gives it to her and says, seek them out. And
they literally need to write Dragon Ball a check because they took way too much inspiration for those ballots.
They had balls.
7 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you 7. These numbers mean something, but I won't explain for risk of sounding ignorant. But there are 7 legendary aces. So each ace obviously has a name that's based off of the power that they have. Licht is super fast. Doan has heavy strikes because he controls gravity. Sonohara, she uses bullets, but the bullets, once they lock onto you, they pursue you, aka Ace of Pursuit. Mm-hmm. But it really tells a story and helps push the story along, learning more about these aces, which the anime took a really long time to show. But they ramble on about this war that the country went through 300 years ago and how the aces were the heroes of that war. So I was really hyped up to see these guys. But the anime takes a little while to show it to them. But they're super duper important. We don't meet all of them, but we do meet about like 5 out of the 7.
Yeah,
I believe.
they show us a good amount of
some of them you can, but they waited a super long time to fucking do it, which was irking to me. But I digress.
The next point that we need to mention is that this anime features a time jump. So when we're introduced, we are again in the year 305 of Althea. So it's it's like a very countryside looking environment. Like, there's no, I didn't think there was no electricity. They have horses and buggies. Like
when?
That's the, huh?
When?
In Althea.
In Althea, yeah.
So it's a very
horses and buggies. That's horses and buggies.
it's a very backwater town feel, right? So we soon realize that Althea is basically a land that was started from scratch. So it's actually the world is present day. And one of our aces that Elijah mentioned earlier, Nana, she's the ace of time, and she sends the main characters back in time to when the aces were created. But back in time is actually the 21st fucking century.
Right. They have like computers, cell phones, and like regular shit.
Like, so when the characters are sent there, they were like, this is more advanced than anything that we have in Althea.
Right.
Because again, when Althea was created, they essentially started from scratch. So that
it's a quote-unquote post-apocalyptic anime, yes. So all our shit's gone.
Yeah, so the present-day world is modern. However, it has been devastated by war and famine. So that's something that's crucial to note in the anime, that you will see that those differing time periods. You also see differences in the way the characters dress. And it can be a little jarring at first when you're just like, okay, like, y'all have horses and buggies, but you have like a schoolgirl uniform on.
Yeah.
Right. So like I remember in clips that was a little confusing to me. So that is something to note.
And the time jump was like super dope to me because it kind of like refreshed me with this anime. It kind of, because I was curious about Licked. Because right before they do the time jump, you kind of see Sonohara pops up and she's like going crazy. And then Lick does this switch into like this dark, sad, malicious, violent guy.
Right.
And so like we had no backstory. We had no backstory for anyone at that point, I think. And so when they thrust us back in time, they really did explain a lot, and I like that. I fucked with it. He was a part of a team who didn't want to kill, so he ended up killing everyone in the war so that his teammates and his comrades would be able to remain pure.
And that was actually what his external ballot, that's what his count was.
Right.
The amount of people that he killed so that his friends wouldn't have to.
And that's another thing that's like do away with the ballots, because when Lick made that transformation, his fucking ballot on his sword started jumping like numbers all the way by the 1,000. It was like, actually, my number is this.
Something else that's really important to note is that Althea has its own like set of laws of nature that's different from the regular world. So when our characters get transported, their powers don't work because, well, this is the regular fucking world, baby.
And in the past, it didn't exist yet.
Yeah, it hasn't existed yet. And it only works in that territory that was created, which is Althea.
And lastly, the fifth thing you need to know is Althea. So we've been talking about Althea, but what we discover at the end of the anime, or as the anime progresses, is how Althea was formed. So the thing that keeps the balance, the black hands that Shay was talking about that pulls people into the abyss, all that is referred to as All Thing. Now, All Thing was used with the 7 original ballots, so 7 Dragon Ball thingies, was used to cast a vote that created Althea. So it created this continent that's actually just raised thousands of meters above regular old Earth. So they were going through this famine where there was not enough food for the population that was alive. So their solution, and by that I mean Schmearman and like the few gaggle of kids that he gathered together. Well, and by kids I mean the grown-ups. They actually did have kids there. That's why I said that. But him and the other adults, they were like, okay, let's gather together and create this city above there and create these rules and put them into place so that the population's under control and it's in correspondence with the amount of food we're producing and this and that. And then anyone who doesn't make it up there is left to die.
Well, I'm gonna get into it in What the Fuck Anime.
Essentially, left to die. So 300 years have fucking passed since then, obviously. So nobody really knows this truth. So our characters find out this truth, and Lick, obviously, who's been alive all this fucking time, knows the truth. And that becomes the main premise to either disband Alcia, I don't even know, disband Alcia, take them down, or he wants to figure out a way to make it possible for everyone to govern their own lives again. Because right now, you got to worry about, like, somebody's like, oh, the amount of compliments you get from people is their count. So if people say, yo, I don't like you like 3,200 times, I'm getting sucked into the abyss, like, that's a constant fear. So he kind of wants people to be able to govern their own lives again, which I fuck with. But that's really the story of Alcia, and it's super essential to understand that, because if they get a season 2 and pushing forward from here on, it's all going to be about the battle for Alcia, I would assume. But that wraps up the 5 things you must know about this amazing anime, Plunderer.
Amazing by Elijah standards. Let's get into our What the Fuck anime segment, which I have plenty of content for. Thing 1, the school shooting scene. So, when our gang is transported back in time, there is a part where the school comes under attack by a foreign military, right? And these guys have helicopters and fucking machine guns. And it's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, a lot of students do get slaughtered, but the effect wasn't as devastating as it should have been. So our class A, which is where all the main characters are in, not a single person dies.
And that's why everyone was fine.
Not a single person dies. And we see scenes where people definitely should have died. So there was this one kid that got jumped by 2 guys with fucking machine guns, and he got shot in both his shoulders. He should have been dead. He should have been dead. He's not a main character. He's not an important enough figure for you guys to bend the rules like that and have him survive. He should have been dead. Thing 2, an army that doesn't kill. What kind of fuck shit is that? What kind of ignorant bullshit is that? Everybody was all gung-ho, pussies wet, jumping into the military because they were like, oh, we want to feed our families and we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do whatever it takes. But then, you're faced with a little trial, a little tribulation, and now everyone's knees is quaking, and they think that they can go through a war.
Look out for Shanice's kid who's going to be a 13-year-old murderer.
They think, no, it's time and place. They grew up in a post-apocalyptic world. There's kids that are starving.
No, not them. They didn't grow up in a post-apocalyptic world.
They did. Because it was bad. When they were like 13.
They were in the apocalypse.
You think the wage war just happened overnight?
They were in the apocalypse.
They were in the actual apocalypse.
There we go.
Wasserer.
There we go.
Because that means that they were living through it. We see kids like 5, 6 who were bribed to kill the main character, and they had more balls than the fucking high school kids who said, oh, we're gonna be the army that doesn't kill. How does that work?
How?
Well, it didn't. Let's get to that. It doesn't fucking work. So, like, I understand having naivete in kids and in, like, giving them, like, maybe wanting to give them that youthful optimism, but it was stupid as shit.
I don't think it was stupid. I will not say it was stupid.
It was dumb as hell.
It's stupid to be an army that doesn't kill,
and
but I can understand the sentiment. They didn't want to kill.
They kept trying to drive that point home, and I'm like, okay, this was cute when you guys first started, but now you guys are grown ass. So after Licht underwent his surgery, and he's been fighting for them for years at this point, you guys are grown ass 20-something-year-olds with periods and 401ks, and y'all
that's when
running around. No, y'all are running around here acting like, oh no, he's taking the burden for all of us.
Oh shit!
And so shut the fuck
he wouldn't let them. He wouldn't let them change their minds. They decided when they were like 11 that they were going to be the army that doesn't kill. 10 years later, they're like, hey, we can kill. And he's like, that's what sit your ass down.
No, because he knew. Like, I don't think any of them would have been able to survive that trauma. And I get that. But it also,
they exaggerated.
You need to understand what is plausible. Like, as seen, like, you have entire grown-ass men in military gear that are shooting kids in the face. And y'all want to be the army that doesn't kill. I digress. That was point 2. Point 3, weak females. This show had nary a strong female lead. They were all useless. They were all whiny. They were all, honest to God, just disgusting. It was very disappointing. I was not a fan of it. It grinds my gears that you don't think that you you have to play this damsel in distress trope for every single female in this anime had to be some type of damsel, was essentially useless, had nary a power, save fucking Nana, who I guess was,
lit
time control, but that was mostly useless since didn't change shit, but weak female characters. My fourth what the fuck anime is pedophiles. So this anime had a very big pedophile undertone to it. We see that Schmearman, like, even his name sounds gross, right? Like he sounds like he keeps kids in his basement. Like Schmearman had an affinity for collecting kids. We see that in the past when they were 300 years in the past, and we see that in the future. It's just something that he continued. Like, this is fucking Neverland.
But granted, he was just a weird, nasty guy. Like, he was a violent guy. He gave off weird vibes, but he didn't display any pedophilic actual things.
He did.
Unlike what?
He did.
What
And let's also get into Lick's relationship with his best friend's daughter. Sir, you are 325 years old. She is 14. That is inappropriate, and that is your best friend's daughter.
Let it be said that we do not know the age of Hina.
You need to be disgusted with yourself that you think that that's okay. At the very most you need to be providing for this girl is protection because you killed her father. But no, you want to dip your dick in her.
She wants it too.
Point 5. The people of Alcia. Like, the whole founding of Alcia was just dumb. It was dumb. Like, okay, so they made this utopia above the planet, but instead of taking people who were already on Earth up to Alcia to maybe split the population, give each half a fighting chance, they decided that they were going to use embryos of brand new people. Let's introduce more people to the fuck shit, right? Like, oh my god, it's just like when famine goes on in real life, right? Like, you just have millions of people who are literally, honestly starving, dying from hunger. But no, let's make some more motherfuckers and give them the good life.
I didn't think about that.
That was stupid as fuck.
Because when I heard it, I agree with it. I was like, right, these motherfuckers down there is tainted by hunger and human cannibalism and all this shit. You leave that shit on Earth.
I know they was eating each other.
You know they was eating each other, man. You know they was eating each other.
Honestly, when they said that Class A killed themselves so that the kids would have more food, I thought that they meant so that they could eat their bodies, which was dark.
No, they were referring to why they joined the military so their grandparents would have more to eat and they wouldn't have to worry about feeding them. So now they just have to kill themselves so the kids wouldn't have to worry about the adults having to eat. Because they know that's what they worried about when they were. Fresh meat
to me.
Okay.
Well,
yuck.
That wraps up my what the fuck anime.
That wraps up what the fuck anime. I don't have any, man. Like, Jesus.
Oh, you gonna make me sound like the nag?
Yeah, the nag.
Okay, well, I guess
you told them an asshole real quick.
We can roll on into predictions. Elijah, what do you see coming?
What I predict that Hina's father isn't dead. I don't think he's actually dead because, one, we never actually got to see his power. So you see, and I don't know, maybe that's just because that's what's super important to me. I need to see your fucking power before your ass dies, and then you could die. But we've met Doan, we've met Sonohara, we figure out that Jail's father is an ace, the ace of explosive strikes. We've seen Licked, we even see Schmearman using his attacks. So we didn't get to see, he's the only one who's dead, he's dead. So the other ones unaccounted for, or we haven't met them yet, but he's dead, and I don't believe that. I don't think he's dead. So either there's gonna be a nice little flashback sequence where we get to know more about him, but I'm banking that he's not dead. I'm locking that bitch in.
That makes sense because the wound that he got from Lick was kind of, to me, it looked kind of shallow.
Lick was here cutting people in half before,
right.
But he gave you a slash on your chest, and you said, "Oh, why?"
Right. So Nahara lost a whole arm.
Okay.
A whole arm.
He was wilding at one point. He was
and they still wanted Baby to come back.
They was fully holding him back, and he still said, "No, I'm cutting her arm off." The fuck? And she just here I love you, Lick, with no arm. I'd be safe.
This dick whipped ass bitch. They made me sick. I don't have any predictions. I don't. So we can jump into our Nani ratings. Do you want to go first, Elijah, or should I go first?
Go first.
Oh, okay. So I don't have any predictions because I would be so ecstatic if this anime just ended. I hated the execution. I hated the characters. my rating for them is a 2, and the only reason why they got a 2 was because I saw the potential in the plot. Like, the plot had really good bones. It actually is a very interesting idea, but the execution failed so horribly that it has to be one of the worst anime I have ever watched. I don't look forward to it continuing, and yeah. Yes. I also won't be watching it if it does continue, which, by the grace of God, let's see if they do.
She will, guys. Don't worry.
I absolutely will not.
So
bad.
I got y'all. Well, for me, definitely it's not an amazing fucking anime.
He wants so bad to be Captain Save-A-Ho and not say that it was terrible.
It's like, you know, because watching this, I took a break in the middle of it, and I took a long break. And that's rare for me to do when I'm watching animes, because I'm usually a straight shooter. I usually like to watch it straight through. But when I came back to it, which is around when they went to the past, from then on for me, it was actually pretty decent. I did not mind it at all going through it because they introduced more powers. We got to see more people doing more fighting, more action, and that's what I fuck with. And they gave us a lot of backstory, which is what I needed. It took them so long to start explaining things, and they were explaining things that later didn't really matter, and like they did seem all over the place. So I'm gonna sit them at like a calm 4. They're at a 4. There's a lot, obviously at a fucking 4. There's a lot of room for improvement. Okay, and we will be watching season 2 if it gets to season 2. But you know, this is super highly rated on the streaming services, so that's kind of the reason why we gave it a chance.
Rated by who?
I don't know. And
a bunch of virgin 13-year-olds. I'm not taking their opinion for it.
Yeah, when you compare it to all these animes, like although it does have like the bones, like Shay said, it really didn't end up filling it up all the way. And like even their big boss battle at the end kind of felt like it could have just been a side battle.
It was so disappointing.
He had not like one move. It didn't seem like, and I hate long ass battles, but I felt like that they kept cutting it up into pieces.
Altogether, that fight had to be like 2 to 3 minutes.
Like,
and maybe I'm spoiled by like animes who give us like episode long fights.
Yeah.
Or like not even like episodes.
Yeah. And they didn't even need to stretch it out for episodes, right. But like you could have at least made it more like gravity. Dawn was using gravity, and like that could have been so dope. Even how they made it look, I didn't like how they made it look. So they're sitting at a 4 for me right now. Solid 4, no point nothing, no point this. But they're sitting at a 4, and we'll see. We'll see when Plunderer season 2 comes out, but it did just finish.
Yeah. So before we wrap up this week's episode, we are introducing a new segment. It is called the Wheel of Names. So for this segment, what we're doing is compiling a list of 20 anime that neither of us have seen before, and we're gonna
toss them in a wheel, and we're just gonna spin and pick out 2.
So, we've challenged ourselves just in order to expand our anime horizons. No matter what 2 anime are selected, we will watch it to season 1 completion. Because I'd be goddamned if we got an anime that's 5 seasons deep and that shit is bullshit.
Forbid we get Plunderer or something like that.
I would honestly, I would end it like right here. Like that would be our final episode. I'm sorry. It's gonna be the Eli show from now on.
But we have our list or wheel of 20 names set up for you guys, and we're gonna go ahead and spin. Shay, I'll go first.
Okay.
So excited. Let's just see.
Oh, lit.
Is that lit? We got Kaguya-sama. Well, I got Kaguya-sama. Love is War.
That's actually one of the names that I put in. I've heard good things about that anime. I don't think it's like a serious one, but I'm pretty sure the season's short, if that gives you any solace.
Yeah.
All right, my turn to spin. Oh wow, we got 2 from me.
Okay, but you know what? This one almost made it on my list, but she put it there, so I'm not mad at watching it.
Dora Hedora. I'm actually pretty excited about this one because it did come up in my Netflix recommendations, and the trailer looked pretty cute. So those are our 2 animes from the Wheel of Names.
We're gonna
we
watch
have
them.
Dorohedoro and Kaguya-sama Love is War. Now Elijah see why I put so much effort into picking these names, because it was 2 of mine I got selected, and I'd be fucking tight if it was some bullshit, because I know I put like 1 or 2 bullshit ones in there.
True say. Alright, so we're gonna watch these and we'll get back to you and let you know what the fuck we think of them. But that's all for today's episode. Signing off. Catch y'all later.
Bye.